to the doctors and wonder what's that thing they put around your arm that squeezes you for a few seconds, they're taking your blood pressure. A blood pressure measures the force that your heart exerts every time it beats. Today, I'll be teaching you how to take a blood pressure. First things first, preparation. To take a blood pressure, you only need about 2 equipments. You need your stethoscope, and that's what's going to help you hear the blood pressure, and your blood pressure cuff. Blood pressure cuff is broken up into many parts. You have the Velcro cuff. This is what's going to go around the patient's arm. Then you have the artery mark, which you're going to line up with your brachial post. Next, the important thing is your pressure gauge, and this is what is going to give you your measurement for your blood pressure, and this is measured in millimeters of mercury. Next, another important thing is your inflation bulb, and this is going to help inflate your cuffs. And the next thing is your valve, and this is going to help inflate or deflate your cuff, whichever one you need it to do. Another thing, important tip to remember with the cuff is when you go to put a blood pressure on a patient, make sure it's the proper size. As you see on the markings on the board, there are ones for infants, larger adults, for toddlers, for teenagers. There's all different sizes, and you want to make sure that you get the proper size to get an accurate reading. For step 1, what you want to do first is locate your brachial post. To find your brachial post, you want to locate your brachial artery, which is the inner lining of your arm. It should be about 1 inch above your elbow bend, and you should feel the post beating. If you can't, it usually may be higher or lower on a patient. But what you want to do is once you find that post, you want to lock that location in your mind because it's going to be important for step number 2. For step number 2, you want to place the cuff onto the patient. Like again, on the cuff, there's that artery mark. You want to pay close attention, and when you put it on, that it hits where you found the post on your patient. If that is off-centered, you will not get an accurate reading, so you want to make sure they're lined up, and you want to make sure that the cuff is not tight, but it's secured, and that it is about 1 inch above the elbow bend, and that the patient's arm is relaxed. Step 3, you want to remember that location where you found your brachial post, because that's where you're going to put your stethoscope on. Sometimes you can hear the post, other times you can't. Don't worry if you can't, that doesn't mean you're in the wrong location. Next, you'll be bringing to step 4. Inflating and deflate the cuff. Before you inflate the cuff, you want to make sure that your valve is closed but not tight. If it is tight when you inflate the cuff, you will struggle to release it, and that could cause constriction on your patient's arm, and that's not good. When inflating the cuff, you want to go about 30 points above the expected systolic pressure. For example, my brother's systolic pressure is about 120, so I went up to 150. Once you hit that estimated systolic pressure, you want to slowly deflate the cuff about 2 to 3 points each heartbeat. Once you deflate the cuff, you want to pay close attention to the first noise you hear. You want to pay attention to the gauge and the carotid sounds, which I like to call thumps. The very first thump is going to be your systolic pressure, the top number, and as you slowly start to deflate the cuff, you want to listen to a series of thumps. Once they start to go from strong to weak, pay close attention to when it diminishes, because that is going to give you your diastolic pressure, the last thump you hear, and that's going to be the bottom number. Once you completely deflate the cuff, you want to remove it from the patient and then state that blood pressure that you got to them. I have a quick audio of what that could sound like for when you listen to a blood pressure. So that's the sound you want to hear when you're deflating the cuff. You want to pay attention to the very first sound and the last sound. Let's put it all together. Step 1, find the brachial post. Step 2, put the cuff on the patient. Step 3, place a stethoscope at the brachial post. Step 4, inflate and deflate the cuff, remove it from the patient, and state that blood pressure back to them. Just in a couple steps, you'll be able to obtain the most important vital sign for a person. It's always good to know a couple medical skills in life. You never know when it might come in handy. Thank you.